Alright guys, we're back. It's next part of the B74 build. We're going to do bag 8, step 1. Looks like at this step we are assembling the front steering components. Let's get into it. So we're going to open up bag 8. I did see the hubs and the drive shafts came in that bag that was stapled to our yellow sheet. So I don't know if that's going to be the case for everybody, but for me it was. So I figured I'd mention it. Got the front hubs. That's what we got here in bag 8. Car's coming together nicely. Hopefully you guys, if you're building along with me at home, which I appreciate, which is cool. Hopefully you guys is coming along nicely as well. And anybody just watching for fun, thank you. You should definitely go get a B74 though. Get down here and do some racing. Come see me. So we got a few bags of parts here. Caster bushing, some shims and pins. Cylinders for the shafts. We got another bag of some bushings and crush tubes. And a couple small screws. Another bag of screws. Lots of screws and parts in this step. I'm going to be here for a minute. And we got the hubs, some carbon pieces, some aluminum pieces for the drive shafts, some pins. I'm going to take a second to separate this out a little bit. Let me know what you guys want me to build next. I love building. I'd like to do a little bit of a live series too. If you guys are into that, let me know. Just building live, talking RC, you know. Anyway, we got a little bit of sorted out here. We got a little bit of everything going on here. Ball studs, washers, caster bushing, screws, nuts. Looks like we got a couple small set screws in here too. This part, the steering steps are always a little tricky for me anyway, because you got to build a left and a right. The hubs are marked on here, which is nice. They are aluminum too. These are the 9 degree. They do sell different degrees for these, depending on what you're going for a setup. But the 9s are what it's coming with. So we're gonna get started on step 1 here. Now this is a build ×2 left and right. Does have a couple cautions here. Long screw goes on the same side as thick hat bushing. So gonna keep note on that. You got a 3mm by 14 and a 3x12. So we may have to check out the chart on that one. I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. We're gonna clean this one up a little bit. A little bit of plastic left over from that one. I'm gonna start. Looks like this is a left. These do have an L and an R on them on the tail here. So make sure you match up the L piece and the R pieces. You build those backwards. I know on the last car you could put them in the opposite and it made the car do some funny things. So just keep an eye on that. I'm gonna try the best I can to build it the right way the first time. And sometimes easier said than done. Let's start with the left one. So we got the 5x12 bearing on the outside. And then we got the crush tube in here. This keeps the bearings from pinching each other when you tighten the screw or tighten the wheel on. And then a 5x11 on the inside, like so. I'm gonna do that to this side too. I'm gonna try to build them kind of at the same time. Bearing, crush tube, which it sits in there, and 5x10, like so. Alright, now that we got the bearings in, we go ahead and start putting on the carbon pieces here. It's like we got a ball stud on those too. These do have a little notch here for left and right, so mindful of that. Do like this here and try to keep it organized so you guys can see what I'm doing. Alright, so looks like the tail. Try to keep the orientation the same here. I'll go ahead. Each one has a ball stud. Now it's got an 8mm ball stud and a 6mm that came with in that bag. 8's being the longer one. Again, you can check it out over here. Just to double check, doesn't hurt. And we got a 1mm washer on that. This is also another setup point with the washers and ball studs. If you're following along something, they may have a different amount of spacing there. I believe that's what they call bump steer. I'm not much of a setup guy, to be honest. I like building, but setting up is not my specialty. I'll be the first to tell you. I usually just follow a setup sheet or go off of what the guys are racing with. Throw this in this side. Hopefully I got this the right direction here. I have in the past had to take these apart once or twice, so if you do build it backwards, don't feel bad. I've done it. We've all done it. Two mil, 5.5. Tighten that up. You see me taking that apart again later in the video. You'll know why. I said build it upside down. Trying not to though. So we got left and a right. Now this looks like it bolts on with 2 screws here. I'm gonna bring back Mr. Drill, and it's calling for 2 3x8 screws on this. One. And 2. Two in this one. 1. And 2. Ooh. And hold on to that one very tight. Tighten those, give them a little snug up. Like so. So we just got our left and our right going together nicely. Now we gotta put our bushings in and our caster blocks, left and right. Ooh, mixing them up there. All right, so I'm gonna build this left one first. Looks like the ball stud goes in the top here. This is with the 6mm ball stud and a 2mm washer, and it wants us to put a little bit of Loctite on there as well, so we will listen. Put a little bit on there. Orientation is key here. Try to do the best you can. It can get a little confusing, especially if it's first build. I've built dozens of cars and it still gets me sometimes. I know some of my friends watching are probably laughing. It's alright. I know I've had to fix their cars too, so we're gonna put that there. This one's gonna go this way. Ball stud on the outside. Again, there's more than one hole here. Tuning option. Associated's giving you a lot of tuning options on this car, which is nice. And then this is where they have the note for the hats. So it looks like the taller or thicker hat is going to be on the top part of the hub, and the thinner on the bottom. This is adjusts the overall ride height of the car, so you may want this to be, you know, different depending on what you're doing. It has me using the thinnest one on the bottom and the thickest one on the top. Looks like they give you some different options here too, depending on what your setup is going for. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the thick one on the top and a thin one on the bottom. Top being where the ball stud is pointing up. Do it like that. Now you gotta get this in here without losing the hat, like so. And I got 2 screw lengths here. I'm gonna do these by hand because it's aluminum. The longer of the screws are going with the taller hat, so if you are building it maybe the opposite direction or something like that, then you would do the opposite. Longer screw going with the longer hat, like so. Shorter screw on the bottom. Boo. Put this here. Like so. I'm just gonna check this one out. I think I grabbed the wrong screw there. Yeah, I did. See that? I grabbed 2 of the short ones by accident. Alright, now we put the longer one on the top, shorter on the bottom. Make sure you get those right. So we should have one long and one short left, which we do. This should be free, like so. Make sure you get a left and a left together, which we do. We're gonna do the same for this side. Taller bushing on top, smaller one on the bottom. Gotta get it. This one's a little tighter than the other one. There we go. So we got that in there. Longer screw on the top. Shorter one on the bottom. Like so. Make sure everything's moving. So now we got the left and the right hubs assembled. I'm going to move on to the drive shafts. I'm going to set these aside for a second. We do have to build the drive shafts. Now this is calling for the 74mm drive shafts, which came in that bag that came with the yellow sheet. They are labeled on the drive shaft, so you get confused. So we got the drive shafts, blue collars. Gonna need a couple pins and the cylinders. These go together the same way as the center ones. So grab a little bit of grease. We're gonna need that. So we're gonna grease the cylinder a little bit. Don't need to put a gobs of grease on it because a lot of it's gonna come off when you push it in here. Give it a little spin there. Work the grease in there a little bit. Do that on both sides, both shafts. Like so. Alright. Now we have to insert the drive shaft into the axle. I'm going to put a little bit of grease in here. Help keep things from squeaking and rusting and wearing out. If you're running on dirt, grease is probably going to be a little more important. So we're going to slide that in there. And you got to line up the cylinder with this slot in the shaft and the holes on the axle. Give it a little twist. Everything should be smooth, no binding. And then we got to slide the blue aluminum cap over it. This just retains the pin so it doesn't fling out on you when you're driving. And we just do the same. A little bit of grease in the axle cup. Slide it in. Line up the pin. Give it a little wiggle. Spin it around. Everything feels good. Slide the aluminum over. And there we go. You got 2 drive shafts of caster blocks. Alright, so then we have to insert the shafts into the hubs. Doesn't matter which one you do first, left, right, they're the same. You have to give it might have to give it a little wiggle because we put that crush tube in there. And then slide that one in. I'm gonna slide this one in like so. Should slide through no problem. And then we got the wheel hexes. These are clamping hexes, so they do have a small screw on them. I like to get these started beforehand. They do have a recess on one side and then none on the other, so the head of the screw goes into the recess so it doesn't hang up on the wheel or anything. Just get these started. I don't clamp them, otherwise you won't be able to get it onto the pin. You really don't have to crank these down either. Be very careful. I've seen a lot of people break this screw. It's only a 2mm screw, so it breaks easy. Just tighten it so it doesn't come off when you take the wheel off the car. And then we're gonna slide the pin in to the slot in the axle. Oh, slides very easy. Keep that straight, keep it kind of on center there, and slide the hex over. Then when you're putting the hex on, I like to pinch it at the axle and make sure that it's fully in, because if you just clamp it down, you'll have a slide in and out. So make sure the hex is tight against the hub, and then go ahead and tighten your clamp. Again, just snug it up. You don't have to crank it down. I don't want to see you guys break that screw. And there you go. It shouldn't really be any play in and out, but it should spin free, like so. And then ×2. Line the pin up. You do it horizontally so it doesn't slip out on you. Put the hex on. Pull it tight and tighten it down. Like so. Again, spins free, no play in and out. Everything is moving around nicely. And we got a completed left and right hub with the drive shaft and the axle. Looking good, everything went together smoothly. Now we're gonna be putting them onto the car with the hinge pins. These were spare hats if you're running in dirt or anything like that. You may wanna have it higher or lower. Turf, we usually run it the lowest point, which is what we got here in the indoor and outdoor track is turf at the moment. You never know what we're gonna do. All right, so we're gonna be putting these onto the car. Got the left and the right side. The ball stud for the steering goes towards the back of the car. That's what's gonna hook up the steering later on. Now these pins do have a notch in them where we're gonna pinch them with a set screw, which is offset, so make sure we put the right pin in the right spot. It does say no groove in the book, which is going to line up basically with this hole here, and so we can pinch the pin in so it doesn't fling out of the car. Line that up like so. Slide our pin in. Get everything lined up in here. Might have to wiggle it around a little bit. There it goes. grabbed it. Not quite lining up there. Oh, see that? Put the pin in the wrong direction, so you should be able to slide it in and kind of see that gray grooved part in the hub. And then we put our little set screw in to pinch the pin. Throw a little bit of Loctite on that so it doesn't back out on us. Don't need to crank that, just snug that up. Make sure the pin is centered in there. I'm gonna get this guy loaded up with a little Loctite. Set that's there. And we're gonna throw this hub in. Like so. Slide the pin in. A little wiggle, make sure everything lines up. Pin is centered up in there. And tighten our set screw. Nice and snug. Looking good. So we got our hubs mounted on the car. Don't worry about the dog bones right now. They're gonna flop out until we put on the turnbuckles to hold them in. But that is the front hub assembly. Now it's gonna have us move on to bag 9, which is the rear hubs. So we're gonna do that in this part as well. This part is gonna be the front and rear hubs. I'm gonna set him aside for now and get bag number 9. All right, we got bag number 9 coming out. This is gonna be the rear hubs. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open. Car is going together quite nicely. This is the first time I've built one. Not the first car I've built, or the first associated I've built. See what we got here. Bag 9 giving us rear axles, rear hubs, rear hinge pins. Rear hinge pins look pretty nice. Got some screws here, pop open. Sort through these in a second. This is a new design on the hubs in the back here. Different than 2-wheel previously and the previous 4-wheel. This is something X-Ray started doing. We got rear hexes, washers, cylinders, the hub pieces, some countersunk screws, a couple ball studs, and a bunch of ball stud washers. The screws for the hexes, very tiny, don't lose them. And a couple nuts. Got the new rear hubs. Put those out. Some washers. So you're gonna need those. And then these are the hub inserts. If you had the last car, those will look familiar, or the 2-wheel. I'm gonna keep those on the tree for now because there's some different sizes, so we'll see what they call for that. All right, so we're gonna get into the rear hubs. All right, so we gotta build these ×2. Looks like there isn't a left or a right on these, so just build them simultaneously. No on orientation here. I'm gonna clean these up a bit. Not too bad, these are pretty clean, broke off nicely. All right, so we're gonna build these at the same time, left and right. So we're gonna start with assembling these 2 black pieces here. It looks like we got a ball stud washer, 6mm, and a 2mm washer going into this piece. This does have a bit of an orientation here, so take note on that. Just gonna finger tighten that one. Looks like they're all 2mm ball stud washers in this assembly, so all the washers you see are gonna be 2mm. I'm gonna tighten those back down, snug them up. those two, and it has us bolting them onto the hub. So I'm going to do so. These look like they're using longer countersunk screws on each one here, going right through them. So they are actually countersunk on one side. So that's going to be the side we slide the screw in. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's calling for a bit of Loctite here. So I'm going to throw on there. Slide the screw in. Looks like a 2mm ball stud washer. And then our piece. I'm just going to start it with one screw so it holds it for us. Then I'm going to get the next screw going because I have to put that washer in between. I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to slide it in. Ball stud washer. And then you got to get this piece in here like so. And tighten them up. We got our assembly there, ball stud washer, and then the blue or black aluminum piece. And again, we're doing this ×2. A little Loctite. Started, and the final screw. And tighten that one down. All right, now we got 2 completed rear hubs. Looking good. Okay, in this step it has us put in the bearings in it and those inserts too. Book is calling for the, looks like 0 up, 3 down, which is plus 0mm. That's going to be the hole furthest down. If you guys can see this, the hole furthest down or up, depending on how I'm holding it there. So we're going to take those again. If you're following a setup sheet, take a peek at that. So these inserts have a little tail on the end here. You gotta make sure you put it in the right orientation. This wants the hole all the way down, like so. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on both of them. Hole all the way down. This will just, this is going to raise and lower the height of the hub on the car, which will affect the ride height, which will then affect other things. If you guys are unsure about setup, Hoodie has a great little setup book to check out. I reference it often. It's on the Hoodie site, you can download it. But anyway, back to the build. We're going to do the axles now. Oh, excuse me, we're going to throw the bearings in these, we almost forgot about that. So it's got the 2 10x15s on the back side, and the last 2 remaining 5x12s on the front. There is no crush tubes in these, like so. Now we're going to throw the axles together. Again, this isn't any different than the other ones with the cylinders. The drive shafts came with that other bag as well. So if you're looking around for those, that's where mine were. Alright, these are the 62mm drive shafts. Again, assembling these is the same as all the other ones we just did. Grease the cylinder. Throw it in, line it up with the slot. Ooh, hey, it's greasy. All right. So we got those cylinders in. Throw a little grease in the the axle, like so. Slide the dog bone in. Don't push it all the way in. Looks like this one sits out kind of far. Get the pin started, line it up with the cylinder, give it a wiggle, spin it around, get the grease in there. And there's one. And it was so much fun the first time, we get to do it again. Pin, cylinder, and through the other side. There we go, we got two rear drive shafts. These ones look like they're using these blue collars to hold the pin in. So just slide that over. Slide this one over. Keep the pins from flinging out. And now it wants us to insert them into the hub and pinch the hex on just like we did in the front. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the little screws in the hexes here. Again, be careful tightening these ones. They sit in that little groove on the side so the wheel doesn't hit the head of the screw. Alright, so we take the shaft, goes in through the bearings. Shouldn't be any problem there. Slide the pin in. Like I said, I like to hold it horizontally so it doesn't fall out on you. Pins don't sit in there very tight. Slide the hex on, and I kind of pinch the threads, keep the hex tight, keep everything. I'm kind of pulling on the axle a little bit when I'm sliding the hex on. You don't have to pull on it hard, but and snug those up. If you just pull on it, then it keeps it from getting play back and forth. And make sure the hex is fully seated on there. But everything should spin smooth, which it does. Looks good. And we're gonna do it again. Slide it through. Put the pin in. Try to center it up best you can. Slide the hex over. Pinch it so the hex feels tight. And tighten it down. Spin smooth, no wiggle. Beautiful. So we got two completed hubs with the drive shafts. So now we're gonna move on. This is bag 9, step 3. We're gonna mount these on the car. Get the grease out of here. Bring the car in. All right, so we're on step 3, bag 9. We gotta put these on the car. It looks like the hinge pin's gonna have a couple of washers on it, which can be a little tricky. Put this over here so you guys can get a good angle here. So the hinge pin in the book has the hinge pin sliding in the car with the head of it towards the back, sliding it in towards the front. So we got a washer on either side of the hub. So the first one, I'm just gonna start it, slide the pin in, throw the washer on. The second one is the tricky part. You don't have to really worry about lining up that dog bone because this is gonna flop out until we put the turnbuckle on. And line up that pin with the next one. And then we gotta put in the second washer, which is usually a bit of a pain. I'm gonna go ahead and use my needle nose for these. You gotta get it started in there. Be a little tricky. I have to fight with it a little bit. It's alright. And then you just gotta kind of wiggle everything around until the pin catches and slides through, which it did. And then capture it with a nut, like so. I'm gonna go back and tighten that down once I get the other one in. It won't go anywhere with that on there. So then, As usual, we get to do it twice. Do it on this side, like so. Just make sure everything lines up good, looks all right. I'm gonna slide my pin in, throw that first washer on. These are just the plastic ones that came on the same tree as the hubs. Then we throw our hub in, slide the pin till we can just see it on the other side. And slide our washer in. Should be enough resistance between the hub and the washer to kind of keep it in place. Make sure your pin's not too far through. If you just want to move the pin a little bit, it's easier just to twist the pin than to actually just pull on it. Just twist it a little bit and pull it. Slide our washer in. And there we go. Washer's in, pin is through the washer and out the other side of the arm. Tighten these bolts. The hinge pin has a 2mm socket on this side and a 5.5 nut on that side. Go ahead and tighten them down. Like so. Now we have the hubs mounted on the car. Again, don't worry about the dog bone. It's gonna fling out until we put the turnbuckles on. There we go, front and rear hubs on the car. Went smoothly. Everything's still free. Once we put the turnbuckles on, that will start making it look more like a car. But that's gonna be the next part. Thanks for watching, guys. That is bag 9 completed. Check out the next part.